One of the first things you want to do is safely raise and support your vehicle by the frame so your suspension can hang. Once you've done that, take a small pry bar and we're going to take off this center cap. If you were to spin it, you're going to see a little notch in the cap. Just carefully slide this off of here. That exposes our 22 millimeter lug nuts. Remove all 6. Remove your wheel. Now let's remove our 21 millimeter nut. Let's just put that nut on, just a couple threads. Now we're going to take a hammer and we're going to hit right here on the knuckle. You want to be very careful for your brake rotor. Now that the wheel's off, we have a clear view of where we're going to start working. We're going to disconnect the electrical. This is the ABS right here, and it's very delicate. I'm just going to come right up along here, and you're going to see where it's supposed to be mounted to the frame. Should be pretty secure. This is missing about half of its clip, so I'll make sure I secure it in afterward. This purple right here is a little lock. It's holding it from coming separated. I like to just come right in between here, pop that up. Now we'll separate this. Just take a peek, make sure you don't see any funny colors. If you were to come right down along here, we're going to get this clip off of here as well. Just give it a little twist. Lift it up. Grab that ABS wire. Carefully set it aside. The next thing we're going to do is remove this 10 millimeter headed bolt. The next thing we're going to do is remove the nut that holds the upper ball joint to the knuckle. Okay, that comes right off. I'm just going to go ahead and put it on there, just a couple threads for now. Now let's use a 36 millimeter socket to remove our axle nut. Behind there's a washer. Go ahead and remove that as well. Let's go ahead and blast this with some penetrant. The next thing we need to do is separate the axle from the bearing. I'm going to use this punch right here and go right in the center. You definitely don't want to use a hammer and potentially damage the threads. The next thing we need to do is remove our mounting bolts that hold the caliper to the knuckle. Use an 18 millimeter. Carefully hang your caliper so it's putting no pressure on your flex hoses. So now let's just double check to make sure this upper ball joint nut is still on there a few good threads. It hasn't loosened up on us. And then we'll move down here to the lower ball joint nut. Remove that as well. Take that and just put it on a couple threads. Okay, so now it's going to be time to separate the upper ball joint from the knuckle right here. Pay special attention to anything that's delicate that you don't want ruined, such as an ABS wire. Make sure that that's secure and safely out of the way. Go ahead and take your nice little hammer, and we're going to bonk right here on the knuckle itself. As you can tell, it's separated. We can move along. So now let's push down on this. Remove that nut. And carefully draw this down. Now, if you're worried the knuckle with the rotor is going to be too heavy, you can go ahead and use a Torx bit right here, remove that bolt, and take the rotor right off. The problem with removing it like that is you're going to have to clean up the mating surface between the wheel bearing and the rotor itself. So now I'm going to take my hammer again, and I'm going to come right down here, and we're going to hit right on the knuckle itself until this comes down. There we are. Carefully lift up, remove the ball joint nut, carefully lower this down, remove your knuckle. The next thing we're going to do is remove the bolts that hold the axle to the front differential. That's what the bolts look like. Remove them all. The next thing that we're going to have to do is remove the sway bar link, and you're going to have to do that on both sides of the vehicle. The reason for that is because we want to take this sway bar and swing it down. There we are, friends. Now it's going to be time for the install. Take your axle, slide it right in here. going to take one of my bolts. I like to use some red thread locker. We'll call it your prerogative. Go ahead and start in the bolts. Don't tighten any of them down completely until you've started them all in. Okay, let's snug them up. I like to go crisscross. All right, just double check them all. Now it's going to be time to install your sway bar link. To do that, you want to make sure you have the shaft facing up like this with one of your washers, a bushing with a little piton facing up towards the control arm. I'm going to put it through the lower control arm, put another bushing with the piton facing down towards the control arm. Nice metal washer. I'm going to put my spacer, another metal washer, another rubber bushing with the piton facing up towards the sway bar, just like this. We'll go ahead and pull this down. Rubber bushing with the piton facing the control arm or the sway bar, washer, and then the nut. Start in the other side the same way. So now we're just going to tighten this up. It's important to remember that you don't need to flatten out your bushings. You just kind of want to make them so they're completely touching up against the sway bar and completely touching the control arm itself. I can see it's touching. This can't move around. And I have approximately the width of my pinky. Do the same to the other side of the vehicle. Let's just take some copper never-sees and go right along this splined area. You don't necessarily need to go down the threaded area though. Go ahead and take your knuckle. I'm going to start it on the axle a little bit, and then slide it over the lower ball joint stud. Lift it up, kink it to the side, and start on that lower ball joint nut. Wiggle the axle around. Should slide right in. Now we're going to use a bar. We're going to pull this upper ball joint down into here. Take the nut, go ahead and start it on there. I'm just going to take my bar and try to hold pressure on the lower ball joint to the knuckle. And then we're going to go ahead and try to tighten it up. So now you'd want to torque this to 37 foot-pounds. If for some reason you can't get your torque wrench in there, like I can't, I would just continue with my wrench and make sure it's nice and tight. Beep! Perfect. Now it's time to torque up that lower ball joint nut as well. Torque it to 37 foot-pounds. Now what we want to do is make sure that our slot is lined up with the hole that goes through the ball joint stud so we can make sure we install our cotter pin. Go ahead and slide that through. If for some reason yours is not lined up when you torqued it, you need to continue tightening, not loosening, until it's lined up with the next available slot. Go ahead and pin that over and lock it in. All right, so now it's going to be time to get the caliper on here. Just go ahead and slide it right over the rotor. And then we're going to line up those bolt holes. I like to use some red thread locker on these bolts. And start them in there. Okay, let's bottom them out. Now let's go ahead and torque these to 148 foot-pounds. Now we'll just go ahead and take that tie rod end, put it right through the knuckle, take your nut, start it on there. We're going to bottom it out. Now you're going to torque this to 44 foot-pounds. That's torqued. The next thing we're going to do is look to see if we can find the hole in the stud of the tie rod and match it with the next corresponding slot on the tie rod stud nut. This doesn't line up, so what I need to do now is I need to continue tightening until it does. I can see right through. I'm going to grab that locking cotter pin and install it. Slide that right on through, and then just pin it over. There's no way that this nut can come loose. Now it's going to be time to get the washer with the axle nut on there. Go ahead and slide the pair on. Go ahead and use your 36mm socket, bottom it out, and then we'll torque it. I'm just going to put a little splash of never-sees in here. I've got my mounting bolt. Let's use our 10mm and snug it up. Make sure it's fully secured. Make sure there's nothing binding. Your flex hose for your brakes are not twisted in any way. Now it's time to get our ABS wire resecured. Let's go ahead and put it in right here. Make sure it cannot come loose. If this can hang around and move around, it could potentially get damaged. We'll go ahead and connect this in now. Listen for a click, give it a tug. Go ahead and slide in your lock. Now we're going to take our mounting hardware here and just slide it right down and in. It's just a little push clip. Give it a nice tug. Make sure it's definitely secured. So of course next you'd want to go ahead and torque down this nut right here. That's going to be torqued to 177 foot-pounds. You can do that several ways. If you were to just do it like this, what you're going to notice is it just keeps spinning. If that was the case, what you would do is you can use a pry bar coming straight through these lug studs like this down to the ground, and so it holds it from spinning on you, and then you would torque it. If you didn't want to go through the process of doing that, you can go ahead and throw the wheel up on there and then go through the center hole, which is the way that I'm going to do it. We'll grab those lug nuts, start them all on there. Let's bottom these out. Now we'll bring it down to the ground and we'll make it so the wheel is just barely touching, enough so the wheel can't spin. It's time to torque down this axle nut, 177 foot-pounds like I said. Torqued. Now let's do the lug nuts, 140 foot-pounds. Go crisscross. Torqued. Now it's going to be time to get the center cover on. Before you go ahead and pound it on there, just take a look at the back. You're going to see something that looks a lot like a valve stem. Line it up. It's going to go pretty much just like this. Light bonk. And then of course clean up your wheel, make it look nice and pretty, and take it for a road test.